Landon, it's going to be a terrible show.
Why?
Because you don't have headphones.
Oh, okay.
Wait a
I just won't. I just can't hear you, so I'll just talk over you all day.
Perfect. Hey, for
What's
the
different?
listeners and viewers, just bear with us through this one, because I don't know. This is what we're dealing with. Welcome to Bunny Lap. I'm Parker Kligerman, joined as always by Landon Cassill, who can't hear me. So this might be one-sided. On today's show, we have many new reviews, which means we also have many new listeners and viewers out there for the show. We will be discussing the NASCAR Cup Series and some things in there and our brackets.
I was just going to ask. You're on the wrong mic, Parker.
Am I?
Yeah.
Devastating. After all I just made fun of you, I am on the wrong mic. Let's get into it. There is some new names in the Xfinity Series, and there was a bit of controversy in F1 regarding our favorite topic, track limits, but mostly about the racing.
I'm not talking about track limits.
No, we're not going to talk track limits. We're going to talk racing and etiquette. Let's start with the PR lap. We mentioned a ton of new reviews, if you could hear me on my alternate mic. We're on our way to 200. We've got to be at, what, 190 now, Josh? 195? What are we at?
I can do the math. I'll go do math while you read some reviews.
All right, this first one, I think I know this person. 10 out of 10, 5 stars. Never have I felt more captivated and inspired in the world of motorsports since becoming one of Parker's biggest fans and tuning into this weekly show. As each week passes, I become more enlightened in my journey as a NASCAR lover. Thank you, PK and Landon, for cementing my knowledge of NASCAR even further. I feel like a scholar of NASCAR now. Lots of love. Keep sending it, boys. Love, Talladega. For those of you who have been on the boulevard for the last 3 or 4 Talladegas, met me at the old tip jar bar, you know Talladega. You can take the next one.
That was well written by Talladega. Did they use AI? This one is a new fan of the show, C Fabi 97, saying I'm mad I did not find this show sooner. Been following Landon's career since ASA late models. That's a long time. I'd say 2004, 2005. And been a fan of Parker's since the ARCA run. Okay, this is an old school race fan right here. How about that? Shout out.
Yep.
They have an amazing level-headed perspective on all aspects of the sport, and I am a huge fan of listening to my drives. Jeez. That was a good one.
That was a good one.
Also, I can't believe you just saw I came out cold turkey. That was like Friday morning practice, cue run off the truck.
Just send it.
I haven't read anything all day. This is the first word that I've read today. Up to this point, I've just been nothing but just a coffee and carbohydrates until I read that review just straight off the truck. Little rough, but we'll come back in, cool them down, but fill it up with fuel, make a small adjustment. We'll do another Q run here.
That's perfect. Sometimes you just got to sort of knock the rust off a little bit.
Yeah,
this
absolutely.
one says, it's fine, period. 5 stars from Huncho Chris. The show is good enough. Oh, thanks. Off topic, but where's Brian Vickers now? Anyone talked to him recently? I actually did see him a year ago at a track. Can't remember where, when. Said hi. That's about it. Don't know what he's up to. I'm sorry.
I talk to Brian once a year.
Oh.
So we just I don't check in with him. It's in the finance world. It's funny. My network of friends in New York is overlaps with some of his friends. So that's about it. But we don't really. I used to visit him when I go up there, but I don't really know what he's up to.
Yeah, I don't know.
So
I know he was doing PE, private equity, for a while, and some venture capital stuff. I don't know where that's at. So, you get this next one. It's a lot of reading, so good luck.
Such a great podcast show from Joe Poe 92. I look forward to the show every week. Landon and Parker cover all the big motorsports from the weekend and often provide unique insight and well-thought-out opinions regularly. Their seamless transition into advertisements for spoiler diecasts should be taught in marketing courses the world round. Keep up the good work, gentlemen. P.S. What's the over-under on an off-season version of this show called a Landon and Parker Variety Show? It could include singing and dancing and a band. The first song would be called A Caution Flag. A half second later. I don't know where this was going. Are we going to do Money Lap Live again?
I don't know. We haven't decided.
You texted me about it like last week.
I know.
I said yes.
I know you said yes, but it's an immense amount of work, and we do have some other things we have to get done in the off season. So
were you not hoping that I would say yes? Were you hoping I'd put more thought into it?
I was hoping you'd say that. I love doing it. I would like to do it. I think we could come up with some other stuff we might do. But yeah, Money Lap Live.
Last year, for those new listeners, last year we did 5 days in a row.
5 shows. 5 weeks.
5 weeks.
5 weeks in a row.
Of 3-hour shows live on YouTube. Yeah. Pat McAfee style. We kind of looked like it a little bit. It was
fun. We had interviews lined up.
It was great. We just we're going to figure it out. If you're listening or watching and you want us to do that, let us know in the comments below on YouTube. If you're just listening, send us an email, whatever, let us know. Before we go to Spotify.
I got the number.
Oh, what's that?
192. We have a little blip on the 4-star, so if you're out there and listening, if we get enough 5 stars, that blip on that 4-star disappears, and it's all 5 stars. So,
who is the 4-star person? We shall find them. We shall find you. We're on a quest to 200, so we're 8 away. So let's go.
You know what the worst 4-star reviews are? The ones where it's like a 4-star review, and they're like, "Love it, great, best ever." Well, then what?
You couldn't just click 1 more star. 1 more.
I see those at Cassill Motors, our car dealership. We'll get like a 4-star review on Google, and it'll be like, "Great car buying experience. Adam took great care of me. Loved everybody at Eric Cassill. 4 stars."
Ouch!
Like
you're like, what?
That's a
is
C.
it not perfect?
That's an 80 out of 100.
You've just crushed our hopes and dreams with a 4-star. It's just not fair. The star system. Who knows? Spotify here. We did have 2. Gavin Thomas, what a show of sportsmanship. Parker, you're a great example of how to handle a loss like that. Winner to me. Thank you. Love the SHOW show. Just ordered my signed diecast and spoiler diecast. Let's go. Can't wait to get it. Also, if you ever decide to have guests, you should try to get Sheldon Creed to discuss all of his second place finishes and moving to the new Haas factory team some. Just thought, keep up the good work, boys. Guys. Yeah, Sheldon would be a fun one. We'll have him on. Maybe Money Out Live if we do it. Yeah. Do you want the next?
Mole Master. What? What is a Mole Master?
Guacamole.
Oh, there you go. Maybe my favorite episode of the show, despite Spotify listing it as a podcast. Thank you. I guess they must be referring to last week's show, which is good. Because I don't know if we thought it was that great of a show.
It was good. I listened back.
Anyways, loved Landon's talk about the tricks of the trade with teams putting in, taking weight off the cars. I'm always curious to see how creative teams can get an edge. That is fun stuff. I love sharing that. Silly question. Should Xfinity fine drivers that say their car is as fast as Xfinity Internet even when they didn't win the race? Or should Verizon start sponsoring them? Would a sponsor like Verizon be blocked out since they're an Xfinity competitor? Well, Xfinity actually pays drivers to say that their car is as fast as Xfinity Internet, so that's why you hear them say it so much.
And let me tell you, I'm in the top 5 this year.
Are you really?
I actually was top. I think I was second up until like the last week or so. I don't know where I'm at now.
Who's number 1? Just now.
I think Austin Hill. Austin Hill maybe was, or Justin Allgaier, one of the 3 of us. But let me tell you, it's lucrative. So we will keep saying it.
And yes,
it's a wonderful bonus program.
Is Verizon blocked from the Xfinity series?
You know, that's a good question. I would assume telecom probably is, but maybe not. You know what? I don't think they are in the Xfinity series. Let's get to work. We'll find out. You want this one from YouTube?
No, you go ahead.
All right. This on YouTube. RainDog38 said, if you love any form of racing, this is the show for you. Parker and Landon continue to provide great perspective from both on and off the track. Josh does a great job, too. Cheers. Thank you, RainDog. Before we go further, by the way, I did forget to say, I did race this past weekend in Vegas. It does feel like it was many, many years ago, but we finished 5th. We had a pretty solid day. corded a right front tire in the beginning stage, so we fell back to like 15th that stage. But then we had a slow stop pulling out some rubbers in the left rear, and then the car came to life, drove all the way from the back up to just outside the top 5, and then just fought for track position late in the race. And you know this, Landon, like when it was kind of a cooler day, and then it went into nighttime, that place becomes like a truck race in terms of the amount of throttle on time. And even I was wrapping the bottom, like the white line, which was, I'd worked on that for the last 2 years. Couldn't get myself to do it correctly. We worked on the car, worked on some things personally, like driving wise on the sim, and I found it. And it was like, we did not get off that line, and I passed a bajillion cars. And I think if we could add some track position or just had it play out a little differently late, we could have maybe challenged the 16 in some respects speed wise. I saw in the speed rankings, we were 3rd on the final stage. So, being that we were in traffic, he wasn't. That was pretty competitive. But it was a really solid day. Good to get a top 5 again in Vegas. I felt like that was a place for us to win. It does bode well for us at Homestead. And I thought so many things that we found in these cars in the last 3 months, mile and a half, have just paid off. So I'm very excited to go to Homestead with that, which is nice. I also, by the way, went to When We Were Young Fest, the emo festival, over the weekend. I saw Taking Back Sunday on Friday night at a smaller show with the Used, which was cool. And Taking Back Sunday got us ticks. Thank you, boys. Appreciate it. Great guys. But then we went to the festival on Sunday. My sister and her friends, and then Sam Hunt was there with his wife, the owner of the 26, and we had a blast living out our high school dreams and saw My Chemical Romance at the end playing the Black Parade, which was epic. I saw the shots of the crowd. I think it had to be like 150,000 people there. It's the biggest crowd I've ever been in. Like the shots, just the people are endless, and we were in that crowd. It was nuts. So I know you were an emo music fan at one point.
Yeah, it actually makes me a little bit depressed that that they called it the When We Were Young Fest.
I know. Oh,
That's horrible.
So everyone was asking me like, well, I was curious before I went there. I was like, what does the 30 to 40-year-old emo person look like now? And my buddies were texting me about it, and I was like, so I came to this summary about midway through Sunday, and I was like, everyone's got the tattoos still. They're all wearing black. I was wearing all black. But I was like, and, maybe crazy hair and piercings, that sort of stuff. And it's that same look, except they've got a Rolex. I was like, that's the best way I can sum it up, because you'd run into like somebody and be like, yeah, I guess they kind of did well in life. Okay, they made it. So pretty funny.
Well,
we did have an email, by the way.
If you need anything to remind you of how great childhood was, look no further than SpoilerDiecast.com, one of the fastest growing diecast and apparel companies in the industry. What sets them apart, Parker? Well,
what?
They are the modern diecast distributor, retailer in the industry. They are bringing back our childhood nostalgia of going to the basement store in the shopping mall where you could get all your NASCAR collectibles in one place. They have over 1,100 unique products currently in stock, but they're not in the basement of a shopping mall. They're at SpoilerDiecast.com. They're on the internet. They pride themselves on exceptional service. They have orders that ship either same or next day. You get your hands on your favorite products in no time. Free shipping on orders over $20. So you get a smooth and affordable shopping experience with SpoilerDiecast.com. They are NASCAR focused because, us Midwestern kids, emo kids listening to My Chemical Romance, we're also NASCAR focused. But they have a wide range of diecast and apparel and options. That's not all. They've got dirt, sprint cars, IndyCar, F1, all this stuff. They are passionate race fans just like us. Check them out, SpoilerDiecast.com.
Let's go. Spoiler. I bet My Chemical Romance was a Spoiler Diecast fan. I'm guessing. Also, Gerard Way, the singer, looks so much like Leonardo DiCaprio. It is weird, by the way. It kept just distracting me. I was like, is that Leonardo DiCaprio singing?
When do you want to talk about just the strategies this weekend in the Xfinity race?
We can do that in Xfinity. We'll look ahead to Homestead.
It's the only thing I want to talk about this week.
I know you do. I know. We'll get there.
I don't care about all the rest of it. Actually, the Cup race was pretty good, though.
Let's talk Cup first. It was good.
Awesome. Let's talk about it.
Wait, we did get an email, though. I can't read it. Josh has kept it in such small type. I don't
Do
even know how
you
to read
want
it.
me
No,
to
I can
just-
read it. This was from Captain Ron last week because remember we had gotten a message from Captain Ron who said he was the one that said that he hated the conversation was always about officiating, and we kind of took that personal. Remember that?
Yep.
And he wanted to clarify that he wasn't just talking about us. He says, and I quote, "I meant that it makes me sad that the narrative around the sport that I love is so often about officiating. If the narrative is about officiating, it's almost, it's never positive. You guys have to talk about what happens." So yeah, I appreciate his clarification there.
Yeah,
and I agree with him. But that's
I'm with him.
the problem with officiating is the more rules you add, the more officiating you need. So then the more officiating becomes part of the game. So then the more we have to talk about it.
Yep. And
I had
the
this
death
saying all the time,
cycle, by the way.
that we either have too many rules or not enough.
Oh, yeah.
You and we've talked about that.
Yeah. I love that saying because it's so true. And it goes for officiating in terms of like racing conduct and such, track limits, and it goes for car, technical specifications. Like you either have too many or not enough. And it's just, that's what it's going to be forever.
Yeah. It either just needs to be run what you brung, the fastest car wins, or like everybody just shows up with their helmet and gloves and fire suit and hops in a car.
Ooh, that's kind of fun.
I don't know.
I like that idea.
It's easy to take the extreme, but
Yeah, it is. It is. Speaking of extreme, Joey Logano won this past weekend on fuel mileage. Makes it into the next round of the playoffs via the 48 being disqualified for being too light. We went into that last week. That was the talk of the town in the garage over the weekend. But Joey Logano basically stole one via Paul Wolf, his crew chief, on the pit box saying, "We're going to stay out," over the 20 of Christopher Bell, who got within maybe just under a second coming off the final corner, but it wasn't enough. He got caught in too much traffic. He was the dominant car, was second in stage one, first in stage two, and led like 160 laps, 150 laps. Didn't get it done, though. And now Joe Logano is going to go fight for a championship at Phoenix. Pretty wild. What a rate. What a last half of that stage, how it played out. Classic, just
incredible.
You didn't know NASCAR.
Help me with something here, Parker. I don't know if you saw the same, social media commentary and memes that I saw, but there are a lot of angry people about Logano winning. Like Mickey Mouse, I think, was the trend. Mm-hmm. People calling him Mickey Mouse. Either him, Mickey Mouse wins, or just the playoff system, Mickey Mouse. I don't see that. I don't get it.
I think it's just the idea that this format obviously rewards just winning. Like consistency isn't going to give you, isn't going to hand you everything.
Enough.
It's not enough. Chase Elliott was probably the most consistent team through the regular season and the first bits of the playoffs, and they are now probably in a must-win position, 53 points out post-Vegas. Because
but what has he done in the last 6 weeks?
Well, no, but that's the point. It just rewards winning. Like we've gone down this, we've said this, and so I think for some of the fans, are like, "Oh, well, it's not deserving to be there," and that sort of stuff. It's like, but on the day that they had to win, they won. So that is the format, and
right. And I don't understand how that's Mickey Mouse. Like
I don't either. I don't get it.
And maybe this is just I think we had this conversation actually already, where it's a cultural thing with our sport, right? For so many decades, we were used to seeing the champion be the person that was consistent over the course of 38 weeks, right? And then in the last 2 decades, that changed. But and then even the most in the last decade. But like in the NFL, you can go undefeated and then lose the first game of the playoffs, and nobody is saying, well, they should still get a chance of being in the Super Bowl because of what they did in week 1 through 8.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And so I don't know. I like this format because I think it just shows how important it is to peak at the right time.
I agree. And I think it's the nature of NASCAR racing in 2024 is you just have to find a way to perform when it matters. And everything else you do can be made moot, can be erased with one great decision on one day. And that is what they did.
And my point on that is that can be multiple times throughout the year, right? That doesn't just mean like, okay, well, you only have to be good in the playoffs and that's all that matters. No. I think you have to be good early in the season, right? You have to establish a good base. You have to know what you have, right? On cars, equipment, you need to know where you need to be, and you have to put up some performance. And then, you're going to go, you and your team are going to go through cycles throughout the season where you're going to try things, you're going to develop on things, and you're preparing for the playoffs, and then you have to peak again for the playoffs. So, for anybody listening that is in that sort of Mickey Mouse camp of thinking, this is my sort of nuanced approach to it. It's like, no, I think it's actually provided a really interesting strategy for how a team and a crew chief would, like Cliff Daniels would approach, or Paul Wolf would approach a season, right? And understanding that they're cycling their focus of their team throughout the season, that you can't just be at 110% for 38 weeks. So you have to sort of be smart about when to be on it, when to be developing, and then when to be back on it for the playoffs.
And Team Penske is known for this. When they got all three of their cars in the playoffs by midsummer, I can promise you they switched to figuring out how we best in the playoffs, because they've done this in the past. And we've seen it before, and they showed up to Kansas, and they were way faster there than they had ever been in a mile and a half this season. And they were really competitive for most of that race.
I like that. I think it's interesting.
Hold on. If I want to play devil's advocate, I do have some stats for the haters out there. Here you go. Joe Logano only has 6 top 5 finishes in 2024. 3 of the 6 are wins, with 2 of the 3 coming in the 2024 playoffs. Joe Logano has also led an average of only 8 laps in his 3 wins this year, the fewest laps led per win ever in series history among drivers with at least 2 wins in a season. So, does that not... So, you can look at this 2 ways. For the haters, like, they've found, the Nashville win with fuel mileage, then this win with fuel mileage, if you want to say, like, so on and so forth. Oh, they've lucked themselves in this, whatever. But if you want to go the other route, it's they were good enough to be in that position, then smart enough to take advantage of the opportunity at hand, maybe without the fastest car. So in some respects, could you not say, hey, this is actually pretty amazing that they've found ways to get here, not probably being the most dominant cars of the year?
Yes, 100%. I agree with that. Like, that's it for me. Like, it's and here's why. And here's why it's so obvious to me. It's just like, there's no Mickey Mouse winners in the Cup Series. None. 0.
No.
So I don't, you can maybe argue that there's a range and a spectrum of rain out, type things, rain out victories versus whatever. Fine, right? You can pick somebody's going to listen to this and just be like, well, what about Justin Haley at Daytona, blah, 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 or Chris Buescher, whatever. There's no Mickey Mouse wins in the Cup Series. And there sure as hell aren't multiple Mickey Mouse wins in the same season in the Cup Series. So I don't care how many laps Joey Logano has led, right? Like, Paul Wolf is one of the brightest minds on a pit box, on pit road on Sundays, period. And so every win is deserved and earned, in my opinion. And so for me, it's like this format, and I don't know. I think I like our playoff format. And I like this stuff, and I don't think I think it's strategic. I think it's smart. I think it's allows for the drivers and teams and crew chiefs and engineers to be cyclical about their training and preparation and where they invest their time and resources. And at the end of the day, we had an unexpected winner on Sunday. What more could you ask for? Right?
Yep. I just find the playoffs to be unique to NASCAR in the motorsports world. Now, I do know we talked about last week, there are other, Supercars in Australia is now adopting something similar. There are other series looking at it. If I want to go watch, a over the season battle of most points, I'll go watch F1, right? And we'll talk about that later in this show. But NASCAR is this unique thing where it's like that what we've known for decades prior is just not the way it's done. It's about the idea of randomness and finding performance at the opportune time, and it's just, I guess I can see if you watched it forever and you felt like that's just what you wanted to keep watching, and you fell in love with that style, the old-fashioned style, then that's fine. But if you're turning this on now, you have to kind of be like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like, why not? Like, what this is, it provides storylines, it provides different winners and different and reasons for them to be incentivized to win, and it creates a different championship outcome. So I don't have a problem with it. I think it is a testament to the 22 team, and as you said it, Paul Wolf, he is now the winningest current active crew chief in the Cup Series at 41 wins. So more credit to what he's done. Let's dissect, if you'll indulge me for a second, by the way, the move by Reddick on the outside on that restart, gets slammed into the wall by the 9 with the 19 below the 9, causes a big wreck, ends up flipping over. When he got out afterwards, he said basically that being aggressive is what you have to do on the restarts because track position is so hard to come by. That being aggressive on mile and a half is him. Yes, I should have probably been more conservative, but that's just not me. Should he have been more conservative in that moment?
You're talking about the guy that ended up on his roof, right?
Yeah.
I guess we can Captain Hindsight this one pretty easily. I don't blame it. Yeah,
Wow,
I appreciate
thanks.
you have to be extremely aggressive in the Cup Series. That's just what the Cup Series is these days. But you know how I am about owning the outcome of your own car. So I guess it's like, well, yeah, if you ended up on your lid, you probably made the wrong move.
I did like how you said, you mean the guy who ended up on his roof? So, yeah. Now, I will be dissecting. I'm going to be on Inside the Playoffs again tomorrow, that show that's on True TV and Max, and eventually on YouTube, NASCAR's YouTube. And we're going to dissect this a little bit with some onboard, because I think there's an interesting point, if you go back and watch the onboard, where he's through the middle of the corner, and you're on board with him, and you can see the 19 below the 9, and they're pretty close. And it's like when fans think, well, what could he have done different? It's at that moment he's reading the language of those two cars. And he mentioned, I saw them have a moment, and I probably could have backed out. The moment it happened was the middle of the corner, and you can see the 19 just out of the corner of your eye. You can see it sort of creep up to the 9. That was his message to do one of two things. Back off, let them slide out. He gets behind them, probably loses some momentum, maybe loses a position or two, or do what he did, which was, I'm just going to shoot around the outside, hope they hear that I'm on the outside, and they gather it up, and I get away, right? He got smushed, didn't work. Discretion probably was a better part of valor there. So we'll agree with him that maybe you probably had to be more conservative, but that's what went down.
I'm just moving along in our show notes here for the first time, and I know that we filled out these brackets weeks ago, and I know that our listeners care deeply about how we're doing with these brackets. I know that, obviously I go home every single day and my wife is like, Landon, give me an update on your bracket. Like, I want to know how you're doing with your bracket. Are you beating Parker? Are you beating Josh? Like, what's really, So I know everybody listening here
Thanks
really
for
wants to
taking
know.
us inside the Cassill household for a second.
I just find it interesting that, like, I haven't paid a ton of attention to my bracket, and I think we've talked about our brackets on this show. But this is, to me, the first time in several weeks that Josh has actually posted screenshots of the brackets in the show notes, and I have a feeling it's because he is pointing out to us that he's the only one that had Joey Logano in the round of 4 and as the champion. And
What can
it
I
just
say?
so happens that this week Josh also put screenshots of the updated brackets.
What can I say? Nostradamus over here. Nostradamus. Let's go.
Can I say our two champions are still alive? So I have Denny Hamlin winning the championship. You have Kyle Larson. My round of 4 was Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin, Reddick, and Chase Elliott. So I'm not alive anymore in the championship 4, but my champion still is alive. You have Kyle Larson as the champion. Your championship 4 was Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin, Chase Briscoe, because you had some, I guess, just some hope for the heart of Stewart Haas Racing to go on all the way to the championship 4, and William Byron. So you're still alive. Josh is alive across all of his round of 4, championship 4. So Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin, Reddick, and Logano. Logano is champion. We'll see. We could still be 3 of the 4 right. He has a chance to be all 4. So come to us for your picks.
I was so sad after the Roval, and then an hour later, my day was made.
Yeah, let's if we're gonna post updates about the brackets, let's do it on every show, not just when your driver wins. Josh.
Okay, to be clear, Parker asked me to put the updated bracket on here before the show. I did not have it in the show notes originally.
I did. That's my doing. It is my doing.
Moving along.
So yeah, come to us for your picks. We're still alive somewhat. Josh, great job. Little bit of news out there that Toyota is changing the sort of banner that they race under from TRD, which is Toyota Racing Development, to Toyota Gazoo Racing North America, which the Toyota Gazoo has something that's sort of taken over their international racing with the prototypes in sports cars, and now even their announced affiliation of Haas and F1. That's all through Toyota Gazoo. So no longer will be Toyota Racing. Also, big merch announcement.
Yes, the return of the Budweiser number 8. How about that?
With the stylized number 8 from Dale Earnhardt Incorporated, because Dale has taken back the trademark from Teresa and allowed them to do this. The car, he will be racing it in November 23rd in the late model stock race at Florence, and in select late model stock races in 2025 in the Cars Tour. It looks tremendous. It looks like the car that we grew up watching. I think the merch sales are probably going to be out of control. So, congrats to Junior Motorsports and everyone over there.
Do you think there will be a diecast of that available on spoilerdiecast.com? There's got to be.
I hope they get allocation.
There will be an off the trailer. There will be a post practice. There will be a post qualifying. There will be a
race win, race lost,
race lost, race back to the hauler edition.
Yep, there'll be a golden
post
edition,
tear down edition,
a metallic edition, a camo edition.
I know. I did say though. I posted on his Instagram. I was like, I kind of want the diecast.
I don't want the diecast. I would just want to go back to an era where I can buy a Dale Jr. Budweiser number 8 waffle maker.
Or like a phone. Remember the phones you could buy?
Like a little phone, or
everything.
An air fryer,
pajamas,
or
everything was branded NASCAR at one
Dale
point.
Jr.
You couldn't hide from it.
Budweiser branded sourdough starter kit.
Little
Stark.
Chandelier. Little Budweiser 8 car chandelier.
I think we're talking about Xfinity next. The last Cup news I wanted to bring out, and we didn't even have this in our list, but I do think that we're expecting today NASCAR to respond to the 2311 filing their what am I trying to say? Demand for injunction, or whatever the legal terminology is. NASCAR's response is due today, I believe. And obviously, having the show right now, we're recording it. We have not seen that yet, that I know of. We don't have it planned on the show. So, if you're a fan, obviously you're a fan. If you're listening to this, pay attention on social media over the next day or two. Make sure you follow the Money Lap, Bob Pockris, the major reporters in NASCAR, and see what comes out of that. And the reason that it's important, and the reason I bring it up, is because I had been saying since the beginning here that the sort of public opinion and the favor is easy to sway towards the team side, because they're the only ones that have really spoken, right? And we've seen their filings, we've seen their complaints. Lawyers are really good with words, and they're really well articulated. And it's not going to be until you hear NASCAR's side of the story that you'll get sort of a balance to what's going on here. So if you are interested in the NASCAR versus 2311 FRM drama, pay attention, because in the next day or two we'll have a chance to hear more about it.
I've heard this response is quite interesting.
Yes.
Yeah. So we'll see. Thanks for being the Money Lap legal correspondent for us.
Got it.
By the way, appreciate that. It's good to have someone on the ground in the courtroom, as we have with Landon Cassill there. let's talk the Xfinity Series. What? What was the shudder?
Just that. Yeah. Let's talk Xfinity Series.
All right, let's talk Xfinity. We have a couple new names coming into the series next year. Taylor Gray was announced to be full-time in the Joe Gibbs Racing number 54. William Sawalich has been announced to be full-time in the JGR number 18. You got Ryan Ellis going to DGM next year from Alpha Prime. I spoke to Mario Gosselin at Las Vegas, and he seemed like, hey, you know what? We were able to put a deal together. We're going to keep racing. So, liking that. Good for them. You did want to talk about Homestead coming up well, actually, before we do that, there was a controversy in the Xfinity race, by the way. The 8 car. Did you see this? So the 8 slows to bring out the caution, then fires up, stops in the backstretch, then fires up and drives away.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the final caution, right?
Was it the final caution? I can't remember if it was the final one, but I think it might have been. Yeah. So,
193 out of 201.
Yeah, so that was the final caution. 193 out of 201.
Yeah. That was the one that you should have had an extra set of tires to use.
And that's where we'll get to. So let's talk Homestead. And let's talk this past weekend. So for you that don't know or haven't listened to this show and watched it a ton, Landon likes to text my crew chief, Patrick Donahue, during the races with strategy updates and strategy ideas. This past week, and there's a couple of these mile and a halves where there's a lot of tire wear, there is a thought process that if you can save a set of tires for the last run, you could have a chance with a late caution to obviously be on a way faster set of tires, drive around, everyone win the race. We have seen this be done before in the Xfinity Series, especially at places like where we're going at Homestead-Miami. To give you some context, basically we get 5 sets of tires, including what's on the car, so you can stop in the first stage, you can stop in the second stage, which leaves you 2 sets for the last stage. You usually take that middle set. Well, actually, wait, if I use too many. No,
you're right. You get 2 sets in the last stage.
You have 2 sets in the last stage. You can
and
pit.
You have to pit once.
You have to pit once. So you'll take those, but then if there's another caution after that, that's the time where maybe it'll be 30 to go, 25 to go. You can choose not to take that set of tires and have a new set lane in the case that you get a restart with 10 to go or 5 to go, and you have tires that are worth 3 to 4 seconds. That's what you wanted us to do this past weekend.
Yes. And have you spoken to Patrick about this since Saturday?
We have a little bit, especially my engineer. We've talked about it.
Did Patrick say anything about me? I haven't talked to
Not
Patrick
yet.
since Saturday.
No.
He hasn't?
No.
Okay. Because he hasn't texted me back since I texted him. The last I texted Patrick was with 30 to go, the caution came out, and I just said, don't pit. Now, I texted him before the race, and I thought that we were on the same page. And I texted him with 30 laps to go, and I simply said, don't pit.
Yep.
And I haven't heard from him since. Now, he pitted.
And we finished 5th.
And he pitted. You guys were running 5th at the time, and you pitted, and you came out of the pits in 4th, 5th, who cares? And you restarted, and you ran those next 25 laps, and 4th or 5th or 6th, it doesn't matter. And then the caution came out with 5 to go, and you didn't have any tires left, so you stayed out, and then you had a restart on the same tires as everybody else, and you finished 5th. And that's great.
Yep.
I'm proud of you. Good job.
Thanks.
And just racked up another top 5.
But wasn't a trophy.
But it wasn't a trophy.
Now, I think this past weekend it wouldn't have worked out for you. Because there the fall off wasn't, especially at nighttime with the high level of grip, there wasn't enough fall
You're
off.
very right. Let me get into the rest of this.
Okay, go.
And I'm sorry to call someone out specifically. So if there's more to this story that I don't know, please write in and tell me. The one I agree with you a little bit, and had I talked to Patrick this week, I would probably agree with him to some extent. You guys were in a tough situation, right? You guys had an incredibly good car, a top 5 car, You're right on that edge of like, I could stay on the same strategy as the leaders and still have a shot to win this thing. Maybe I outrun them on a late race restart. Maybe we make the right adjustment with 30 to go and we end up winning this thing. It is awfully tempting. It is hard to get off strategy when you're a top 5 car. But when you're a 15th place car, this is the obvious strategy in my mind. Because a 15th place car is not going to magically in the last 30 laps of the race just become a 5th place car or win this thing. It's not. Especially some of these teams that are running 15th. Case in point, the 31 car was at the time of the caution with 30 laps to go, they were the tail end of the lead lap. They were running in 14th. The last car in the lead lap, they were the next car to get lapped, and they got saved by the caution. They, instead of basically securing a 14th place finish by just staying out, saving a set of tires, you're going to run, if it goes green to the end, you run 14th anyways.
Yep. You stop the wave around cars.
Well, they would have only stopped, they, 1st through 6th would have waved around. I'm sorry, not 1st through 6th. I think there would have been 6 cars that waved around is what I'm trying to say.
Got it.
So they still would have had some wave around cars, but those wave around cars aren't putting tires on either. And these are cars that they've been out running all day.
Yep.
Right? So these guys wave around. You only have 6 people to compete against on the same set of tires. These are people that you've been out running all day. You take a restart with old tires. You have 30 laps to go. If it goes green to the end, you might get lapped. Let's just say you do get lapped. Who cares? But if a caution comes out with 10 to go, 6 to go like it did, and you're still on the lead lap and you save that set of tires, you come in and put sticker tires on and restart in 14th again, you have a hell of a good chance of not just advancing your position, but of winning the race.
Yep.
Tire fall off at Vegas is, what was the tire fall off? You tell me.
Well, it wasn't at the nighttime. It was cold. It was such high grip. It wasn't huge, but the daytime it can be a second and a half, 2 seconds.
What was it at nighttime?
I don't.
How much
remember,
slower were you running at the end?
I don't remember. It felt damn fast because it was so much grip. So that's why I don't think it would work as well. Probably a quarter of a second or 3/4 of a second fall off. Half a second.
So, anyways, that's the obvious strategy for me, especially for someone that's in that 10th to 15th range. And I put out a tweet to anybody that follows me on Twitter. It would have saw that I just was disappointed in the lack of creativity. I didn't see any. There were no crew chiefs that took that gamble, and it's not even a gamble, in my opinion.
No, definitely not in that position.
It's really not even a gamble. If you run 10th to, I mean, and here's the rest of the story for the 31 team. They burned their set of tires with 30 to go. Everybody else took the guys behind them took the wave around. So then they went green until the next caution. Caution came out with 6 to go. They had no tires left. The guys that took wave rounds behind them took tires, and I think the 31 ended up finishing like 20th.
Yep, or 22nd, something like that.
22nd.
Yeah,
he was a legit 15th place car, 14th place car all night, which is a great run for them. I mean, it's a good run.
Yeah.
So. Now, yes, so there's my 2 beefs is they're the shining example, but then my other beef is a little bit is with Patrick and you, because it's like we only get so many shots at this, and where my empathy is like you're balancing that between but we got a top 5 car, we got an even better car than maybe we expected to bring, right? Mm-hmm. But we're going forward thinking here. We're going to Homestead this weekend.
Yep.
We got the same story. Are you racing Saturday? Because I know it's a doubleheader. Is Xfinity afternoon or night?
After the trucks, 4:00.
Okay, so it is going into the night race.
A little bit, yep, sunset.
But this is our last shot at this, right?
Yep.
If you are anything but a top 3 car,
we're saving
you
the set.
have to consider this strategy.
Oh, it's already on the plan. Now that we've put it out there for all our competitors. as well. That all
Well,
listen
you know
to this
what? If you put
podcast.
it out to, this is what gets it. I mean, this is for me, the fan. I don't care. That's your decision. That's Patrick's cross to bear. How much we talk about it. As a fan, it's like the more people that try this, the more interesting the race gets. Because I don't want to see just one guy with sticker tires driving around the field. I want to see 3 or 4 of them and having to dice through traffic. And
No,
you know,
I want to keep it to ourselves.
well, I do want to see one guy. I want it to be you, and I want you to get an easy win. But it's literally video game easy win.
Oh, there especially. It doesn't matter if it's nighttime or not. Miami is a huge amount of fall, 3 to 4 seconds in the daytime on a run. So, you put on a new sticker set, you've got 5 laps, you will drive around the field to get to the lead. It will happen.
In one lap. So for the fans watching here, here is your thing to watch this weekend at Homestead. This is what I'm tuning in for. I want you to tune in for the whole race. And I know that NASCAR, pays us a lot of money to be industry plants and to tell you to tune in for the whole race.
Yes. Thank you, NASCAR.
What if you can't even tune in for the whole race, just watch the final stage. Because here's what you're watching for in the final stage. It's a 200 lap race, right?
Yep.
And you get 2 sets of tires in that final. Do you get one more set than that in Miami? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Watch the final stage, and when you get within 60 laps of the end of the race, start paying attention, because it could potentially get to this real strategic game of when to take the last set of tires. And if there are cautions with like 15 to 20 lap intervals between them, it gets to be that is a very difficult decision to make for these crew chiefs, and I love it. It is so interesting. So my hope and a prayer is that we see like a caution 40 laps into the final stage, or you see a green flag run. That's fine too. A green flag cycle. That's fine too. But like within 10 laps after the green flag cycle, I want to see a caution. And then another like 15 laps after that, another one.
Yep.
And let's just, and then maybe they go 20 laps. I don't know. It's just, that is what to watch for this weekend. Homestead, there's a lot of reasons to watch the race in Homestead this weekend. It's one of my favorite tracks. It's a fun track to drive. It's fun to watch the different lines and strategies from the driver's seat. But there is a lot of good old-fashioned stock car racing strategy that's going to be going on in that race Saturday night, and I'm very excited to watch that, and I really hope that you have a set of stickers for whatever caution comes out with 10 laps to go.
Yep. And to talk about the risk there, as opposed to Vegas, your chance of going to lap. Yeah, you if it doesn't happen correctly, you will go a lap down because the tire.
Because remember,
is so large.
And here's some math for race fans to think about. Right, we just said it's. What, 2.5 seconds a fall off? 3 seconds a fall off?
Say 3 seconds, and it's 33-second laps.
It's a 34-second lap
34,
in the race trim.
Yep.
So you're talking 10, 11. You're really talking about 10 to 15 laps getting lapped if you stay out on old tires. So 20 laps if you're being generous. Very interesting.
It's going to be fun. Also, qualifying there.
I will look forward to reporting back on this next week.
Just one other thing, qualifying there is pretty fun because last year we ran the bottom of 1 and 2, top of 3 and 4, which was amazing because doing the Kansas earlier this year when we qualified around the top both ends is just such a wild lap when you have that much grip and you're on the wall. So we'll see what gets it done this weekend. One other thing, just to know what we're racing for, we are still racing to be 5th in points. We can achieve that. I think we're within 19 or 18 of 9th, and then we will figure out from there. Once it resets going into Phoenix, I can't do the math right now, but we'll get like the reset. Everyone kind of resets back to where they would be. We'll see how close we are to 5th, but that's part of why what you're still racing for someone like us. But we still want to win, so we definitely want to win.
Yeah, we're racing for 5th in points, which is why we make conservative strategy.
You know what I'm saying, man. That's why stage points matter.
I hope I get a mean text from Patrick after he listens to this episode.
Stage Well, stages could make it better because you can then take more risk, especially if you get a ton of points in stages to say screw it, whatever. But even then, I think our whole team's thought process has been just like screw it, whatever it takes. Like we're gonna win a race, so we're all on board. We'll see. We'll see if the opportunity presents itself. In the truck series, it was an announcement. Frankie Muniz will run full time in 2025 with the Room Brothers Racing, number 33. So,
Nice.
good luck to him. We'll see how that goes. Let's talk F1. There was a bit of controversy off track in terms of this whole situation that Red Bull Racing had this device that basically would allow them to run the car one way for qualifying and another way for the race. It's now been deemed that the FIA say that they've found no evidence of a violation by Red Bull and that the bib system, as it's being termed, has been public to both the Motorsport Federation and the competition for 3 years. So there will be no ramifications for that. It's obviously not doing wonders for them because they were not, once again, the fastest this past weekend. Ferrari got a 1-2, beating Lando Norris on the start down into turn one. Not a great first corner for Lando Norris and Max Verstappen. They got into a tussle and it allowed Leclerc and then eventually Sainz to get around them. Lewis Hamilton crashed early on in the race. But the big talking point, and we're not going to use a certain term, TL for now, but this is the idea that when there's no runoff, in terms of when there is a ton of runoff and no penalty for running wide off a corner, what we see is the controversy we saw between Lando Norris and Max Verstappen as they went down to turn 12 at the end of the long straightaway at the back. Side by side, Lando Norris on the outside, Max Verstappen on the inside. Lando Norris just basically allows his car to roll around the outside. Max takes the corner, kind of forcing and not giving him the room, but he did have the corner in terms of being there if Lando Norris had a penalty for running off the track. There is no penalty, so he just shoots around the outside, passes Max Verstappen. Max looked for a penalty. He didn't get a penalty because they said he forced him off. And this is the discussion because if there's no penalty for going off the actual racing surface, then it gives that car who's in the aggressor, the overtaking position, to have a huge amount of leverage, which Lando Norris had. Any thoughts?
He did get a penalty.
Who got the penalty?
Lando.
That's right. He got a 5-second penalty.
Yes.
He did get a 5-second penalty. I'm sorry. Right.
Yeah,
But there's a lot of
I
discussion about it. Just real quick. It knocked him to 4th or 5th.
Yeah,
Where
it
did
gave
knock
the
him
spot
to?
back to Max, and then
He gave him, but not
Oscar had
technically
to
on
back
track,
off.
which is kind of lame too, and the whole thing. So the whole thing is just kind of lame in that sense. I'm sorry, you're right. He did get a penalty.
So my only little color I'll add to this, and you're even more educated than I am to speak on this, but track limits is a discussion that we don't have to continue to rehash. But you see these discussions at the modern racetracks, right? The classical racetracks that were more naturally built into the landscape of their environment, and that have decades and decades of whatever the track design, you don't see near as much of an issue. And then we've had this like barrage of modern track designs that every corner and runoff is meticulously thought of and paved and painted and designed. This is where we're running into these problems, and it's just a shame, right?
It is. It's just not fun. It's not cool to talk about. It's not cool to watch. It's not cool to see two cars go down into a corner and know there's no ramification for overspeeding or overdoing it or being overly it's just.
Did you see
it takes
the one overhead photo of turn one that showed two cars? I don't even know which two cars it was, but it showed the angle that they were taking in the corner, and it was literally like the car on the inside was going straight in order to block the car on the outside.
Yep.
From making the turn.
I thought even Lando and Max at one point, to be honest. I hadn't seen the photo, but it could have been them too, because they had a couple wild occasions down to turn one.
That's what Max did on the start of the race, is he just was on the far inside, and he basically just sailed it to to the end of that corner and then force Lando 15 football fields away from the race surface.
Well,
was the USGP lacking a little bit this weekend, like in attention, or was it just my algorithm?
I think it's your algorithm because they did have a huge crowd. They did have ESPN did like College Game Day down there and everything. They had Nick Saban down there. They had a huge star power, mostly generated by ESPN, it seemed like, and Disney, ABC. But it did seem, for all the fervor, it did kind of, I don't know, I didn't see a lot either. It didn't seem like it took over my feed and that sort of stuff. So who knows? Maybe it's lessening a little bit. But it's still a big event. It's still massive. I know there's some F1 fans that are going to comment below like, well, NASCAR, they would just all ran into each other and everything. And it's like, well, that's a little bit more natural than having some stewards and button-downs deciding what happens and what didn't happen on the racetrack. So we'll leave it there. But the F1 season continues to stay hot. So that was a big moment, though, for Lando, in terms of the points battle and such versus Max. Didn't quite go his way. Before we head off, Mazda MX-5 Cup race at Martinsville this weekend.
So interesting.
Happening. I can't believe it.
I'm sad that I'm not in it.
We should have made it happen. What the? Mazda, I know you listen. Next year, we're in this. Make it an endurance race, too. Just like Moon Car. I want it to be like a 6-hour enduro.
That's how I would do it.
Oh, my gosh.
I don't want to run some 100-lapper. I want to run this 800-lap race at Martinsville with my best friend Parker.
That would be amazing. I love it.
Burning the brakes off of Mazda.
That'd be so cool. Oh, well, I've got to go. I've got to head back to Charlotte. I've got to go do the show tomorrow. I've got to go to Miami. Wait a second. Oh, my God. Are you Can you believe this? Kyle, we are sorry. Kyle Busch has been in the green room. I didn't even know he was in. Josh, why would you not say anything? I didn't know he was in there.
All right. Thought you knew. I'm sorry.
Well, no, speaking of emo, we listened to some great emo music this past weekend. We're sorry to be emotional here, Kyle, but we're going to have to make this happen. It's just, Landon, look at us. This is ridiculous.
Time to go.
We're out of time.
Sorry, Kyle.
There's next week, buddy. Peace. Thank you all. Thanks for listening or watching. If you want to be heard on this show, go to moneylap.com to leave us a voicemail. Be funny, be irreverent, or be insightful, but don't be dumb. If you're watching on YouTube, please like, comment, and subscribe. That helps us grow. And if you're listening, please leave us a 5-star review to be featured on this show. Follow us on X, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. We'll see you there.